That night I slept in my own bunk, and for the first time since Calypso's Island, dreams found me. I was in a king's courtroom, a big white chamber with marble columns and a wooden throne. Sitting on it was a plump guy with curly red hair and a crown of laurels. At his side stood three girls who looked like his daughters. They all had his red hair and were dressed in blue robes. The doors creaked open and a herald announced, "Minos, King of Crete!" I tensed, but the man on the throne just smiled at his daughters. "I can't wait to see the expression on his face." Minos, the royal creep himself, swept into the room. He was so tall and serious he made the other king look silly. Minos' pointed beard had gone gray. He looked thinner than the last time I dreamed about him, and his sandals were spattered with mud, but the same cool light shined in his eyes. He bowed stiffly to the man on the throne. "King Cocalus, I understand you have solved my riddle." Cocalus smiled. "Hardly little, Minos, especially when you advertise across the world you are willing to pay 1,000 gold talents to the one who can solve it. Is this offer genuine?" Minos clapped his hands. Two buff guards walked in, struggling with a big wooden crate. They set it at Cocalus' feet and opened it. Stacks of gold bars glittered. It had to be worth like a gazillion dollars. Cocalus whistled appreciatively. "You must have bankrupted your kingdom for such a reward, my friend." "It is not your concern." Cocalus shrugged. "The riddle was quite simple, really. One of my retainers solved it." "Father," one of the girls warned. She looked like the oldest, a little taller than her sisters. Cocalus ignored her. He took a spiral seashell from the folds of his robe. A silver string had been threaded through it so that it hung like a huge bead on a necklace. Minos stepped forward and took the shell. "One of your retainers, you say? How did he thread the string without breaking the shell?" "He used an ant, if you can believe it. Tied a silk string to the little creature and coaxed it right through the shell by putting honey at the far end." "Ingenious man," Minos said. "Oh, indeed, my daughter's tutor. They are quite fond of him." Minos' eyes turned cold. "I would be careful of that." I tried to warn Cocalus. "Don't trust this guy. Throw him in the dungeon with some man-eating lions or something." But the red-headed king just chuckled. "Not to worry, Minos. My daughters are wise beyond their years. Now, about my gold." "Yes," Minos said. "But you see, the gold is for the man who solved the riddle, and there can only be one such man. You are harboring Daedalus." Cocalus shifted uncomfortably on his throne. "How is it that you know his name?" "He is a thief. He once worked in my court, Cocalus. He turned my own daughter against me. He helped usurp her, make a fool of me in my own palace, and then he escaped justice. I've been pursuing him for 10 years. "I knew nothing of this, but I ought to have offered the man my protection. He has been most useful." "I offer you a choice," Minos said. "Turn over the fugitive to me and use this gold. It's yours. Or risk making me your enemy. You do not want Crete as your enemy." Cocalus paled. I thought it was stupid of him to look so scared in the middle of his own throne room. He should have summoned his army or something. Minos only had 2 guards. But Cocalus just sat there sweating on his throne. "Father," one of his daughters said, "you can't." "Silence, Ilya." Cocalus twisted his beard. He looked again at the glittering gold. "This pains me, Minos. The gods do not love a man who breaks his oath of hospitality." "The gods do not love those who harbor criminals either." Cocalus nodded. "Very well, you shall have your man in chains." "Father," Ilya said again. Then she caught herself and changed her voice to a sweeter tone. "At least let us first feast our guest. After his long journey he should be treated to a hot bath, new clothes, and a decent meal. I would be honored to draw the bath myself." She smiled prettily at Minos, and the old king grunted. "I suppose a bath would not be amiss." He looked at Cocalus. "I will see you at dinner, my lord, with the prisoner." "This way, your majesty," said Ilya. She and her sisters led Minos out of the chamber. I followed them into the bath chamber decorated with mosaic tiles. Steam filled the air. A running water faucet poured hot water into the tub. Ayala and her sisters filled it with rose petals and something that must have been ancient Greek Mr. Bubble, because as soon as the water was covered with multicolored foam, the girls turned aside when Minos dropped his robes and slipped into the bath. "Ah," he smiled. "An excellent bath. Thank you, my dears. The journey has been long indeed." "You have been chasing your prey for 10 years, my lord?" Ilya asked, batting her eyelids. "You must be very determined." "I never forget a debt," Minos grinned. Your father was wise to agree to my demands." "Oh, indeed, my lord," Elia said. I thought she was laying on the flattery pretty thick, but the old guy was eating it up. Elia's sisters trickled the scented oil over the king's head.